I mean, I still probably didn't shoot it as good as I would have liked, but I feel like it's coming. Just trying to continue to get my legs under me, and like I said, pregame.
On July 27th, 2025, a buzzing United Center in downtown Chicago was transformed into the battleground for one of the most anticipated matchups of the WNBA regular season, the Indiana Fever. Sitting at 14-12 and looking to climb higher in the playoff seedings, came into enemy territory to face off against the 7-18 Chicago Sky. A team in search of answers during a rocky stretch of their campaign. But what made this clash even more compelling was the absence of superstar rookie Caitlin Clark, who sat out her fourth consecutive game due to a nagging groin injury. Without their floor general and primary playmaker, many questioned whether Indiana would have the offensive cohesion and shot creation it's necessary to pull out a win in front of a raucous Chicago crowd of 18,342. Yet, the Fever entered with a clear mindset. Next woman up. They leaned not on individual brilliance, but on system execution, rotational trust, and seasoned composure. Meanwhile, the Sky were facing their own personnel dilemmas. Both Angel Reese, their double-double machine and emotional spark plug, and veteran facilitator Courtney Vandersloot remained. Unavailable due to respective health protocols and a lingering ankle issue, that left head coach James Wade scrambling to recalibrate his rotation. Seeking consistency from a shuffled deck in front of a crowd desperate to see their team rediscover rhythm and identity. Injuries gave way to the buzz of basketball anticipation. These weren't the names you'd normally see in bold font, but tonight, it would be the supporting cast, the glue players, the second options, the unsung heroes who would write the story. Welcome to Gentaki Sports, where we go beyond the headlines and bring you the soul of the game. From big-time plays and breakout performances to tactical wrinkles and emotional shifts, we bring you what the box score doesn't always tell you. If you're a true fan of the game and you live for moments like these, hit that subscribe button and join the movement. Let's dive into this incredible matchup. Chicago wasted no time asserting themselves early. Camila Cardoso, a 6'7", Brazilian center. Open scoring with a smooth, high-arching elbow jumper that barely grazed the rim as it splashed through the net. Rebecca Allen followed up with a strong driving layup, using her length and timing to maneuver past two defenders. The Sky looked crisp, playing with urgency and fluidity in their opening possessions. But Indiana didn't panic. They recalibrated. What followed next was an absolute statement. A 14-0 run that not only stunned the Sky, but also shifted the energy of the entire arena. Kelsey Mitchell, Indiana's battle-tested scorer and emotional compass in Clark's absence, took command. She drilled 3 consecutive pull-up threes, each more confident than the last. One came from a high screen, another off a jab step hesitation, the third in transition, barely giving the defense time to react. Her mid-range game was just as sharp, nailing a 17-footer off a curl action. Her rhythm was undeniable. Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston, the reigning Rookie of the Year and the foundational big for the Fever, went to work inside. She carved up Chicago's second-unit post defenders with her patient footwork and punishing strength. 2 consecutive post hooks, one over her right shoulder. The other off a quick spin brought Indiana's bench to their feet. The Fever were not just surviving without Clark. They were thriving, executing at both ends. Rookie guard Michaela Timpson joined the party, using her fearless instincts to exploit a backdoor cut for a reverse layup. Showing the poise of a veteran and the craft of a natural scorer, her bucket capped off a 26-13 opening quarter and highlighted Indiana's precision, while Rachel Banham did her part to keep Chicago in the game, experiencing 4 triples in the first quarter alone, each a heat check moment that gave the crowd hope. The Fever's spacing and transition tempo had already planted a double-digit lead that would loom large for the rest of the game. The second quarter saw Chicago attempt a gutsy rally. James Wade's squad ramped up the defensive pressure and began forcing Indiana into uncomfortable spots. In fact, the Fever coughed up the ball 9 times in the quarter, and the Sky turned those turnovers into 14 points, a vital stretch that breathed life into Chicago's chances. Kia Nurse, playing the best stretch of her game, hit back-to-back jumpers, a corner 3, and a pull-up mid-range, while Banham continued her hot shooting. contributing 8 more points in the stanza. Suddenly, the gap that once looked insurmountable had narrowed, and the crowd sensed a momentum shift. But Indiana's bench would not fold. Instead, they responded with poise. Timpson remained active, finding creases in the defense for floaters and kickouts. She tallied 8 points before the break, once again proving she belonged on the big stage. But it was Ari McDonald, the relentless, high-energy point guard, who truly turned the tide. With her electrifying speed, ball pressure, and floor vision, she orchestrated Indiana's final push of the half. She tallied 6 assists, 3 steals, and a pair of scores of her own before halftime. One moment stood out. With 2:04 left in the half, McDonald came off a screen, surveyed the defense, and calmly pulled up from behind the arc to drain a momentum-killing triple. It was a dagger that staved off Chicago's growing charge and reminded everyone that Indiana had leaders all across the roster. As the buzzer sounded, Indiana walked into the locker room with a 51-39 cushion, a double-digit lead on the road, without Caitlin Clark, against a hungry Sky Squad. The message was loud and clear. This was not a one-woman team. The Fever system predicated on ball movement, defensive communication, and positionless. Aggression had neutralized Chicago's second-quarter run. Coming out of halftime, Chicago knew they had to strike quickly. Strike they did. They opened the third quarter with a renewed intensity, with Kia Nurse hitting a smooth mid-range jumper off a flare screen to cut the deficit to 5. Moments later, Banham hit a step-back 3 that brought the United Center to life. And just like that, the Sky were within 1 possession. The momentum had swung violently, and for a moment, it felt like the Fever were reeling. But just when, the Sky seemed poised to flip the script. Indiana's veterans took over again. Kelsey Mitchell, with her quiet fire and lethal efficiency, calmly answered with her 5th triple of the game, a deep shot from the wing that silenced the crowd. The response was clinical, and it deflated the Sky's momentum. Ari McDonald followed that up with a gorgeous no-look bounce pass that split 2 defenders and found Lexi Hull cutting baseline. Hull finished with a clean layup, and Indiana was back in rhythm. Then it was Aaliyah Boston's turn to remind the league why she's one of the most polished young bigs in the game. She received an entry pass just inside the left block, spun, passed her defender with her trademark footwork, and banked in a shot that gave Indiana breathing room once more. Chicago continued to fight, and the arena remained hopeful, but Indiana never let their grip loosen. And then came the play that symbolized the night. With just 0.7 seconds left in the third quarter, Lexi Hull banked in a buzzer beater, a tough, off-balance jumper after curling off a screen. The arena went quiet. The United Center, so loud and hopeful just minutes earlier, was now stunned into silence. Hull, who had 7 points in 19 minutes, may not have stuffed the stat sheet, but her timely contributions and effort spoke volumes about the Fever's depth and confidence in every rotation player. Heading into the final quarter, up by 14, Indiana sensed they could finish the job. The fourth quarter opened with Mitchell draining her 7th three-pointer of the game, pushing her total to a season-high 35 points. It was a performance worthy of a highlight reel. Smart, patient, explosive when needed, and ruthless in shot-making. Not far behind, Sophie Cunningham got free for an elbow jumper, courtesy of another dime from McDonald, who was now in full command of the offense. Aaliyah Boston then delivered another statement play, muscling through contact to grab an offensive rebound and finishing under heavy pressure. Her physical dominance in the paint wore down Chicago's front court throughout the night. As the final minutes ticked away, Indiana's bench stood and clapped after every defensive stop, every offensive rebound, every hustle play. There was no Caitlin Clark on the court tonight, but there was no lack of identity. The Fever had proven, in front of a hostile crowd and under intense pressure, that they were far more than just a one-superstar show. They were a unit built on trust, timing, and belief. And with Kelsey Mitchell's scoring explosion, McDonald's court generalship, Boston's post-dominance, and contributions from Timpson, Hull, and Cunningham, they delivered one of their most complete performances of the season. To build on their dominant 93-78 win over the Sky, the Indiana Fever now face a crucial stretch of refinement, not just to survive without Caitlin Clark, but to become an even more dangerous multidimensional threat. The blueprint is already visible. Indiana's game against Chicago showcased not just resilience, but a clear schematic direction. What comes next is optimization. Practices, film rooms, and scrimmages, the Fever will dig deep into the details that turned this game, from a potential trap into a commanding statement that begins with embedding more versatile offensive sequences, particularly mid-range. Pick-and-pop actions for Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull, while Boston's post dominance remains the backbone, stretching defenses to the 15 to 17-foot range. Opens new lanes for cutters and shooters alike. Hull, known for her motor and shooting touch, thrives in space. And scripting her into staggered, off-ball screens will make it difficult for defenders to hedge hard or trap Mitchell without exposing gaps behind the play. Christy Sides and her coaching staff are already laying groundwork for these tweaks. In the film room, they'll break down the packed line adjustments Chicago used in the second half. Every successful trap and rotation will be frozen, dissected, and relived frame by frame, not just to celebrate, but to understand. Rehearsing these sequences on the practice court will include drills that replicate mid-quarter reset scenarios showing left, recovering right, rotating help, closing out under control. The goal isn't just to react, it's to anticipate. Muscle memory meets instinct when preparation hits its peak. Offensively, the Fever will continue to expand their library of actions. Expect elbow pick-and-pop sets for Boston, with Kelsey Mitchell or McDonald initiating from the top and slipping passes into open shooting windows. These won't just be designed to score, they're control mechanisms, slowing down defenses, and burning mismatches. Meanwhile, staggered slip screens on the weak side, a wrinkle that worked beautifully in the fourth quarter against Chicago, will become a staple for Hull. These are reads, not just plays, as the better Indiana gets. At timing the release and identifying defensive overplays, the more they'll punish teams that gamble. Simulated late-game scrimmages will also become a staple of Fever practices. Game situations like up 10 with 3 o'clock to play or down 2 with 35 seconds left will be used to refine composure, spacing, decision-making, and timeout management. These controlled pressures help players develop trust and clarity when emotions run high. Alongside that, rebounding clinics will be intensified. Boxing out is no longer a fundamental, it's a non-negotiable. Against teams with aggressive front courts, every second chance opportunity becomes a momentum swing. Indiana will continue to hammer the idea that securing a rebound is not the end of the possession, but the start of the next attack. Immediate. Outlet reads, fast but secure passes, and sprinting into lanes. That's where their next level begins. Chicago, on the other hand, leaves this game with more questions than answers. There were flashes of brilliance, Banham's outside shooting, Kia Nurse's mid-range creation, and Rebecca Allen's cutting. But collectively, it wasn't enough. Without Angel Reese and Vandersloot, the Sky's margin for error evaporated. And when the system broke down, they defaulted to isolation-heavy possessions that stalled momentum and left their shooters out of rhythm. Despite scoring spurts in the second and early third quarters, the Sky committed 23 turnovers. That number isn't just alarming, it's damning. Many of those giveaways were unforced. Sloppy post entries, poor spacing on handoffs, late cross-court, skip passes into traffic. It wasn't just Indiana's defense causing pressure. It was Chicago collapsing under self-inflicted weight. To correct course, James Wade's staff will need to dissect those errors with surgical precision. Film reviews will isolate every turnover, identifying not just who lost the ball, but why the structure failed. Was the screen angle wrong? Did the timing lag? Is the spacing off due to a late weak side lift? From there, it's about rebuilding trust in system execution, especially in the half court. One adjustment that can't wait is integrating more Princeton-style movement into Chicago's offense. For a team that relies on Cardoso's interior presence and Nurse's dynamic slashing, Using Princeton cuts off the high post can open up easier backdoor opportunities. Force switches and slow down aggressive defensive schemes like Indiana's. In terms of sets, watch for elevator screen actions, specifically drawn up for Bantam and Nurse. These designs force